portion of it. And remember that Becca will be the one who will be announcing each and every item on the agenda. Now that that's taken place, I would like Linda to have a call to order, roll call.
Larry McWilliams,
Here.
Nancy Littlecapes.
Here.
I don't see John Turcott. Ed Reedman. Robin Tannenbaum. Joseph Marden. Jason Frazier.
Here.
Rebecca Dillon.
Here.
Rainey Daniel.
Present. See, there is a quorum. We can move on. Approval of minutes. Linda sent us electronically our minutes. I am looking for an approval of the minutes with any errors, and we can amend that.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move that we approve the minutes from Tuesday, March 3rd, 2020, as well as Tuesday, April 7th, 2020.
I'll second.
It's been moved by the vice chair, seconded by whom?
Larry McWilliams.
Thank you, Larry. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? If not, Linda, could you do the roll call vote, please?
Larry McWilliams,
Yes.
Nancy Littlecapes,
Yes.
John Turcott is absent. Ed Reedman is absent. Robin Tannenbaum is absent. Joseph Marden is absent. Jason Frazier. Rebecca Dillon
Yes.
and Rainey Daniel.
Yes.
Linda, does the record show that Robin Tannenbaum was in that last vote?
No, I didn't hear that.
Yep, we ended up promoting her from attendee to panelist, so she's now a part of the meeting.
Thank you. I will change the roll call vote for who's present.
Did we also get Jason's vote?
I did, yes.
Awesome. Thank you very, very much.
Okay, first on the agenda is item 2019-03, site plan approval extension request, 15 Saunders Way, JB Brown and Sons. The applicant is requesting an extension on the April 2nd, 2019 approval for a 40,000 square foot warehouse office building, tax map 042B, lot 013, zone industrial park district.
Do we have an applicant presentation?
Vin, you have been unmuted.
Okay, hi, this is Vin Verano. Thank you, Chair and the board, for taking this opportunity. A lot changes in a year, so we have not been able to identify a tenant. Primarily, it was due to high construction costs as we bid out a couple of potential users for the site. And so we initially came forward to do an extension to see if pricing would come down. And in the interim, this whole pandemic has evolved, which has really dried up any interest in the property. So I think it just reinforces our need and desire to extend for another 12 months the approvals for the 40,000 square feet while we continue to look for a tenant and hopefully find some better pricing. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Vin. And thank you, David, for sharing on the screen the site plan. Staff comments.
Staff has no further comments and supports the request.
We'll move on to board comments. Anyone on the board would like to speak? Make sure you say who you are and what ward you are from, and make your comment, please.
We have no hands raised, Chair.
And I see that there's no public hearing needed on this request.
Correct.
I would entertain a motion if someone would like to make it.
I'll make a motion, Larry McWilliams.
Thank you, Larry. I need another brave soul.
I'd like to make a motion to grant a one-year extension to the previous approval for the J.B. Brown and Sons application for a new 40,000 square foot warehouse office building located at 15 Saunders Way, tax map 42B, lot 013, zone in the Industrial Park District. It's approved with conditions. All previously approved findings of fact and conclusions and conditions are still applicable.
I need a second.
I want you to be in.
Second.
I'll second.
Jason.
Thank you, Jason. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any comments to be made? Any discussions?
No.
If not, Linda, could you take the roll call vote?
Larry McWilliams,
Yes.
Nancy Littlecake,
Yes.
Yes.
John Turcott is absent. Ed Reedman is absent.
He just
Robin
came into
Ta-
the meeting, Linda.
Excuse me?
Ed Reedman just came into the meeting.
Do we have time for his vote?
Yes. Ed,
I don't know. Is it? I don't know why you can't hear it, though.
oh, we can move on from this vote. Linda, we'll go to the next one.
Robin Tannenbaum,
Yes.
Joseph Martin is absent. Jason Frazier,
Yes.
Rebecca Dillon,
Yes.
Rainey Daniel.
Yes. Let the record show that it passed.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thank you,
Thank
Vin.
you.
Thank you.
Item 2020-03, site plan subdivision, 35 CB Street, RMC Properties LLC. The applicant is proposing a 4-lot subdivision to create 3 duplex lots with frontage along CB Street. Tax map 040, lot 135, zone City Center District, and this item is before the board tonight as a public hearing.
We have Dustin Roma and Ryan Caruso available as the applicants.
Dustin, are you making a presentation?
I am. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Fantastic.
Can you hear me? Because I have my hand raised. Can anybody see
Oh,
that?
Yeah, Nancy has her hand raised.
I'm sorry.
You do.
I'm sorry, Nancy. I can't see that. I can now. Nancy,
Okay, and I should share with you all that I have a banner on my screen that says that my bandwidth is low, and everybody's cutting in and out, so I'm not sure if I'm picking everything up. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to recuse myself from this as I've done project work that is related to this property and applicant.
And you do it.
I need a motion to allow Nancy to recuse herself.
Let's see if I can get.
I'll make a motion, Robin.
Was that Robin?
Yep.
Awesome. Motion moved by Robin. Is there a second?
I'll second it. Sorry.
That's all right.
Thank you, Larry. It was moved and seconded. There is no discussion on a motion to recuse. All those in favor, can Linda take roll call vote?
Larry McWilliams.
Yes.
And do I ask for Nancy's also?
No.
Okay. John is absent. John Turcott. Ed Reedman.
I'm doing the best I can, dear.
Robin Tannenbaum.
Yes.
Joseph Martin is absent. Jason Frazier.
It says so, Mom.
Jason, did you vote?
Yes, that was a yes.
Mm.
Rebecca Dillon.
Yes.
Rainey Daniel.
Yes. And who's going to make the presentation?
Dustin Roma here. I'll make the presentation here on behalf of the applicant. RMC Properties LLC
Oh, I knew it.
is proposing to develop this property. It's about 2.4 acres. Proposing a initial phase of development, which consists of splitting off 3 lots that each have frontage on CV Street. Each of those 3 lots would be 5,000 square feet in area. It's going to leave a larger lot 4 parcel in the rear. It's about 90,000 square feet. There is some initial plans for development of that parcel, but it's potentially a larger project. So that's why we're kind of separating the 2 and developing them as 2 phases. So the project that we've been working on diligently with the city staff to button up is the development of the 3 lots with the frontage on CV Street. So the hashed area that you see there on the subdivision plan is a shared access and utility and parking area easement for the benefit of each of the 4 lots. Working with city staff, certainly felt it was desirable to just have a single driveway connection across from Oak Street and to be able to locate all of the parking in the rear of the property. So it gives a kind of a nice streetscape presence as you're coming down through CV Street, and again, hides all the parking to the rear. So this is our landscaping plan. We've got some street trees on the driveway coming in, as well as street trees in between each of the dwellings, and dressing up the foundations with, combinations of plant materials. We're putting a sidewalk really on 3 sides of these buildings. There'll be a sidewalk on the rear side adjacent to the parking spaces. There's a sidewalk with an esplanade that runs along the shared driveway. And then we're going to be rebuilding the sidewalk along CV Street. One of the reasons being because we're going to have to cut into it a number of times for all the different utility connections. But where we're doing some work out there, adjusting grades, we want to just really kind of clean up this stretch of the road between the tracks and our driveway, and just give it an all new streetscape. So we're going to tie the water utilities into CV Street, have underground power into the building from a new pole that'll be set adjacent to the driveway. Each of the units will be on sewer as well. Stormwater management is going to be maintained by the construction of a soil filter in the back corner of the property. So it's just kind of just off the screen for what you're seeing there behind where the 6 trees are coming in on the driveway. Be building a soil filter in that back corner. So keeping all the stormwater on site, treating it, and then discharging it into a pipe that runs down through the middle of the site. We've got, if you want to scroll up maybe to the building plans themselves, we can just talk a little bit about the architecture. So the original plans we presented had kind of an off-centered gable on the front of the buildings, and a little bit different pole placement along the front farmer's porch. So what we did is we spaced that out a little differently. We centered that gable in the middle of the building, and kind of what we try to do is make it look like, even though it's a duplex building, to give it that appearance of a kind of a single unit structure. I think that was one of the things that the board was looking for. So we've added railings along the front porch area there. So we just left the portion open where you walk into the two front doors there. And again, just centered that front dormer. So, we feel it gives it a nice, residential feel on the street side there. And we did present some colors to the board just so that you could get a sense of the different palettes that we're proposing. And the three buildings will be, three different colors, not all the same color. So they'll, all earth tones, vinyl siding. We'll do shakes on the gable end that faces the road with a different color than what the clapboard vinyl siding is on the buildings themselves. So we think it'll be a nice addition to the area. I think it'll fit in nice with the project right across the street that's recently being constructed, and fits in well with the kind of the dominance of multifamily homes that are down in this area, and certainly leaves some good planning practices as far as being able to develop Lot 4 in the future, utilizing the infrastructure that we're putting in place now. So we've read the staff review memo that was put out, and we're familiar with all of the conditions of approval that were listed on those comments, and we're agreeable to all of those. So at this time, I'm not aware of any other outstanding comments. If there's any questions the board or staff has, happy to answer them at this time. But I feel like we've answered everything that's been brought to our attention to date. So turn it back over to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Dustin. Staff comments?
Staff have reviewed the resubmittal that the applicant has provided to us, and we feel that they have addressed the outstanding comments. One comment I did wish to make related to the Lot 4 status. We did get a phone call from an abutter expressing concern because there is a statement on the plan as it relates to how many units could be placed on Lot 4. And that is just a ordinance requirement that we have to show what a lot can bear for density. However, that does not mean that the lot in and of itself is permitted to do 35 units at this time. Lot 4 at this time is a vacant lot. Whenever it is brought back to the board for a redevelopment plan, that would be the time in which that the specifics of the site would be reviewed, as well as any impacts to the neighborhood. So I did want to bring that up as it was staff.
Thank you. I'm going to open a public hearing, and before I do so, make sure that in public comments, you either raise your hand or *9 for call-in attendees. I now officially open the public hearing.
Chair, we have one hand raised. The name on the list is Douglas, and I'm going to press to allow to talk at this time. Douglas, you've been unmuted.
Douglas, could you give us your name and your address, please? Douglas, could you give us your name and your address, please? Last chance. Douglas, can you give us your full name and your address, please?
The microphone's not working. Barry, is the unmute button function not working? Okay. We have tried to unmute. Unfortunately, we believe that the issue is the audio on the end of the other line. And so at this point, we'll just disable the talking for this particular caller. We do not have any other hands raised on this application. Rebecca, do we have any questions and answers that have been provided?
None have been provided, no.
At this time, Chair, we have no other comments on this application.
I call the public hearing closed. Since there are no questions from the public to the applicant, they're all free. Any board comments or discussion?
We have one hand. Jason.
Hi, yeah. Jason Frazier, Ward 2. So I like the structural changes, much more symmetrical. It looks great. On the storm basin, I would like to see some landscaping around the ground level, around the basin area there. You know, preferably something that's like native species, just to kind of soften the look of it. And kind of just
Thank you, Jason. Anyone else from the board?
I have,
Yes, Robin?
okay, sorry, I can't figure out, we did it last time, but for some reason I can't find all those little icons this time. So I had a question, and just in general, I know I wasn't at the site walk, et cetera, but I think this is a great project and I'm really excited about it. My question, and I don't know if Dustin will know the answer, is I noticed the comment that the project is going to be using heat pumps. And so I was wondering where the outdoor condensing units are going to go. I'm assuming they'll be mounted on the building, but I was wondering if we know what elevation they'll go on.
Dustin, could you answer that question, please?
Sure, yeah. I didn't know if you wanted to compile answers and go to the end. So the heat pumps are likely to be located on the sides of the building, but in the rear. So they won't be on the sides necessarily facing the parking area. We've got bulkheads and decks and windows on that side. So they'll likely be on basically adjacent to the decks, but on that rear corner.
Okay, that makes sense. Thanks.
Thank you, Dustin, and thank you, Robin. Anyone else have a question or a comment?
We have no hands raised, but whether Justin would like to respond to Jason's comment.
Justin asked a question. Dustin, would you want to respond to that question?
Sure. So the stormwater filter basin is located directly behind the existing garage that's on the adjacent property. So it's going to be shielded from view on the CV Street side from that garage. And we're actually going to be leaving the large trees on lot 4, which is going to surround the pond on the other 2 sides. So it's got the paved driveway on one side, the garage on another, and then existing, forest land on the other 2 sides. So it'll be fairly well shielded from view. And the ground surface itself will all be planted with grass.
Jason, did you understand that?
So I mean, if it's all grass and it can only be mowed like once a year for maintenance, I mean, it's going to look kind of shabby. So during the summer months, so that's why I mean, it'd be nice to just to have something like just shrubs kind of between the parking lot and the basin area, and then also between the house and the basin area on those other 2 sides there, just to kind of have it blend into the wooded area behind it. I think it would just soften the look a lot more, and just improve the aesthetics a lot. I mean, I'm not saying tons of plants. I'm just saying just a few, just to soften up a bit there, and probably actually improve. I mean, probably help with maintenance as well. Less to move. That's just my comments there.
Thank you, Jason. Dustin, do you want to respond?
Sure. So we did get some of the initial comments back from the city, where the stormwater basin, it kind of runs as a swale along the side of the parking lot, or along the side of the driveway, which drains into it, or drains into that basin. And what the planning office had us do was plant those additional trees on the right-hand side coming in. We originally just had the trees on the left-hand side, but I think they kind of had the concern you were talking about with just trying to dress up that right-hand side with some additional landscaping. So we've added those 3 additional trees on that side, right on the edge of the swale, which drains into the basin. And then the area immediately beyond that drains directly into the basin, it's where all the stormwater runs over. So that was the reason why we didn't do any additional plantings there. It wasn't to just not do any, it was we just wanted to keep that open for drainage.
Jason, any other comments, or are you fine?
Oh, I'm fine. Thank you for answering. Yeah, it doesn't look like from looking at the contours. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's much. It looks like the slope starts pretty much right at the driveway there, so not much to work with. But thanks.
Anyone else with a question or comment?
Yeah, I'd like to comment also on those trees that are additional, because I didn't see them in my packet. I see them on the left, but not on the right. Was the garage, are those trees going to impede on that garage, or did that ever get straightened out that was on that same side on the, I guess, the other homeowner property there? Has that driveway been moved over to where the mailboxes and an additional 3 trees are, or?
Yeah. So I'll answer that. So the owner of the adjacent property where they've got the driveway that is currently on our lot, they are agreeable to moving their driveway. It'll most likely be on the other side of their building, but we've been communicating with them throughout this, and basically they've indicated to us that they're agreeable to not occupying that driveway space anymore. They won't have access to the garage. They'll likely have a driveway on the other side of their building. So they're in the process of doing that now.
Okay.
Okay, Larry?
Yes, I'm fine with that. Thank you, Rennie.
Becca, did you have a question?
Yes, I just wanted to add the individual Douglas who was trying to speak earlier has entered into the Q&A that they are the property owner at 33 CV Street and would like to state that they are the abutting property to the subject parcel, and that there's an unsettled boundary dispute between the 2 parcels.
Dustin, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I mean, this is the first that I'm hearing of it being unsettled. So, I mean, at this point, we've had a boundary survey. They've been working through their title company as far as the property line in relationship to their barn. This is the property that we were just talking about as far as access into that barn area and the driveway being located to the other side. You know, we've had several face-to-face meetings on this, and it's my understanding it's been resolved.
Okay. If anything else concerning that, it's going to probably end up as a civil matter, which is beyond our bounds. I have a follow. Well, anyone else has a question or a comment?
There are no hands raised.
Okay. I have a follow-up question to Jason. I have the same concern as he does. I guess I'm a futurist, and I believe at some point in time that fourth lot is going to be phased in some manner or not. I have concern with the drainage area. I don't want it to become an eyesore, especially for a project as nicely thought out as this one. So I want Dustin to keep on the back burner in the mind to somehow, when you come before this board again to develop Lot 4, that we have a solution, because at that point in time, that drainage area will become extremely visible, based that probably those trees will be gone at that point. So keep that in mind for the future.
Yeah, if you want me to respond to that, the stormwater basin is very much it's permanent in that it's a requirement of this plan, but we're treating it as a temporary stormwater management feature that will, you know, achieve the water quality goal in the short term. But when Lot 4 is developed in the future, that's likely to just be replaced with something either underground or part of a larger system, so that we're sending the water in that direction, treating it now. That soil filter will go away when Lot 4 is developed, and it'll be replaced with something that you won't see.
Thank you, Jason. That really relieves my mind. There are no further questions. I'm assuming no one wants to raise their hand. So I am willing to entertain a motion.
Somebody just needs to raise their hand.
Okay.
Nobody has.
Let's not be shy. I need someone from the board to make a motion, please.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Rebecca.
I was just noticing I couldn't find where to raise my hand, but I just wanted to mention that the gentleman who had a comment during the public comment has also had a couple of follow-up statements. I don't know if those need to be read aloud.
We can read those aloud as far just to put them on the public record. I don't believe that there's any response needed, but the statements where it was advised by the title attorney to get it on the record that things have not been finalized, and that the developer and I have discussed the deed swap involving the garage, and again, had not finalized.
Okay.
Thank you very, very much for bringing that up.
Sure. And I can continue and make a motion.
Oh, I would love that.
We're all set. Mr. Chair, I make a motion that the site plan subdivision application for RMC Properties LLC for a 4-lot subdivision to create 3 duplex lots with frontage along CV Street located at 35 CV Street, tax map 040, lot 135, zone City Center District is approved with conditions, and the following findings of fact, conclusions, and conditions as stated on pages 4 through 8 of this staff memo dated April 30th, 2020 are adopted in support of that approval. The planning board authorizes the planning board chair or vice chair to sign the final plan on behalf of the planning board.
Linda, can you please, oh, second. I need another brave person to second.
I second.
Thank you, Jason. The motion's been moved and seconded. Any comments? Seeing none. Linda, can you take the roll call vote?
Larry McWilliams,
Yes.
Nancy Littlecapes
She
is
has,
recused. John Turcott is absent. Ed Reedman. I'm going to go forward. Robin Tannenbaum,
Yes.
Joseph Martin is absent. Jason Frazier,
Yes.
Rebecca Dillon,
Yes.
and Rainey Daniel.
yes. Let the record show that it has passed.
Thank you. Appreciate the board's time.
Very, very welcome. Becca, the next one, please.
Item 2019-07, subdivision amendment, El Maple Estates, STJ Inc. The applicant is proposing an amendment to the boundary line of Lot 10 within a 36-lot residential subdivision located at El Maple Drive, previously 477 Saco Street. Tax map 004, lot 018 and 019, zone residential growth area 2. This item is before the board as a public hearing tonight.
And who's the applicant making the presentation? Sean, are you there?
Should be good.
Sean, are you there? Sean Frank?
We lost him. We lost Sean entirely. Here we go.
Sean? Sean Frank? Sean Frank?
I can start the presentation on his behalf. I know that he's out there. And if he can join in, we can bring him in.
Okay, I want you to do that.
Okay. All right. So the application that is before the board this evening for El Maple subdivision is a minor amendment to a previously approved plan. Land behind the project was owned separately. That has now requested a merged ownership with Lot 10 of the El Maple project in order to gain access to this previously undevelopable parcel. So the plan before you right now shows that the previous Lot 10 at the rear of the subdivision has its line now removed, and it is to be merged with the backland of Janet W. Smith trustee in order to create a larger, still single lot, but now the lot will be developable for the Smith family.
Sean, are you on the line yet? Any staff comment?
At this point, the applicant has provided all necessary upgrades to the subdivision plan, and we have no issues with moving forward for approval with the conditions as stated in the staff memo, and providing public comment at this meeting.
I'm going to open up the second public hearing for this evening in regards of this particular item on changing the lot line. And any public comment?
We have one individual that has asked to speak under the phone number of 615-2312. I am unmuting you.
Could you give me
sorry, Jenny, that was Sean.
the address, please?
Yeah, Sean Frank with Sebago Technics.
Oh,
Sorry about that. I couldn't get through on my other computer, so I had to use this way.
You haven't looked better in years.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For
You're
some reason, my
welcome.
laptop wouldn't connect, so I had to use my old one and use my phone for the audio. I apologize.
That's fine.
But this is, I certainly thank the city planner for, Jenny did a wonderful job. I mean, obviously, we had that right of way that it encumbered the El Maple subdivision to the lot behind us. That gentleman would like to build a home, and really the only way to do it at this point in time, until El Maple Drive is actually not only constructed but accepted by the city council, is basically to purchase Lot 10, combine his 22 acres behind that with Lot 10 so that he is now a lot in the subdivision. And then the whole intent would be, again, Mr. Chairman, at the end of the day, once the road is built and accepted, is that we will then diverge the lots again so that he will have his single-family house on his 22 acres out back, accessed through that right-of-way, and Lot 10 would be a separate house lot in accordance with the original approved subdivision. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Staff, do you have any questions?
no, sir.
Planning board, any questions?
Do you want to close the public hearing?
If not, I close the public hearing. I'll do it one more time. Board, any comments?
We have Robin's hand that is raised.
Robin?
I don't think I did. That might have been leftover.
Okay. Then there
No.
are no further hands raised.
I have one question, but I think it's to the staff. The only comment I have, the only question I have is, would it be possible for the trustee, Ms. Smith, to acquire that land, which will be 22 plus acres? Could they develop more than just one house lot?
utilizing Lot 10 as an access way, that is a possibility. There has been discussion that the Smith family is looking for just one house lot back there, and that in the future, once that El Maple Drive is actually an accepted street, that they are looking to acquire land to the left of Lot 10, which right now currently shows as an access easement on the plan. They would then look to maybe sell back Lot 10 to the subdivision, and then they would just have a flag lot off of El Maple Drive at a later date. That is what has been relayed to us, but there is the possibility that off of Lot 10, there could be some level of development. It would need to be reviewed at that time.
May I add a little to that, Mr. Chair?
You most certainly may, Mr. Frank.
Thank you. Right. It is the applicant's intention right now, basically just to build a single-family house lot back there. We obviously have looked at options in terms of further development, but in terms of a road off a road, Eric always tells me I can't do a dead end off from a dead end, so we really couldn't extend an additional roadway off from this. And in terms of finding a second means of egress, it would mean crossing the river, coming across the CMP land. So I think he's looked at a lot of the options, and I think he's pretty convinced at this point in time it's going to be a big single-family house lot for him and his family, and that's his plans. And as Jenny stated, obviously, if he ever does propose anything more than that, then it would have to come back to this board for further review and approval.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Frank. Any other comments? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Larry has raised his hand.
Larry, please.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
Please do.
For the amended subdivision application for SDJ Incorporated for the 36 lot residential subdivision located at 477 Saco Street, street tax map 004 lot 018 and 019. It's zoned in the residential growth area 2, is approved with conditions, and the following findings of fact, conclusions, and conditions is stated on the pages 9 through 13 of our staff menu dated April 30th, 2020, are adopted in support of that approval. The planning board authorizes the planning board chair or vice chair to sign the final plan on behalf of the planning board.
I need a second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Rebecca. It's been moved and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, a roll call vote, please. Linda?
Larry McWilliams,
Yes?
Nancy Littlecates,
Yes.
John Turcott is absent. Ed Reedman, we're having difficulty with. Robin Tannenbaum,
Yes.
Joseph Martin is absent. Jason Frazier,
Yes.
Rebecca Dillon,
Yes.
Rainey Daniel.
Yes. Let the record show that the motion passed. Sean, thank you very much for making the presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for your perseverance tonight. Well done. Well done.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Becker, you're on.
Item 2020-06, site plan amendment, 91 Spiller Drive, Revision Energy. The applicant is proposing the expansion of an existing solar farm, Wish Camper Solar Array, tax map 004, lot 303, zone manufacturing district, and this item is before you tonight as a public hearing.
Thank you, Rebecca. The applicant to make the presentation,
Ashton Ireland.
Ashton Island.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Perfect.
Awesome. I'd like to thank the chair and the board for your time. Yeah, so we are proposing the expansion of an existing system. Wish Camper Company is the owner of the property and the off-taker of the power produced by the system. This would be a 240 kilowatt AC expansion on lot 303. Essentially a duplication of the existing array adjacent to it.
Anything else?
No, I can answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Staff comments? Give me a moment, please. Are there any staff comments?
The applicant has addressed all the outstanding comments and is ready for approval if the board so chooses with the conditions as stated in the staff memo.
Is there a public hearing?
Yes.
Okay. I open the public hearing. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak? I need your name and your address, please.
We do not have any hands raised, Chair.
Thank you.
We have Q&A. I guess, Becca, do we have any Q&A?
No, no comments have been placed.
In that case, I close the meeting, the public hearing. I guess there aren't many questions for you to respond to. Is there anyone from the planning board that would like to make a comment?
We do have a hand raised, Chair. Larry.
Larry, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want to make a comment to Revision Energy, and I want to thank you for expanding in the zone where you wanted to try. I know being on the council, you were looking to buy that other parcel of land, and it was unfeasible at the time. And I really like your energy, especially on using the same property to double in size. And I hope to see that maybe down the road that you can acquire both of those other lots as well. And we have a solar field coming all the way across those lots. It'd be great to see. Thank you.
I am going to allow a attendee just raise their hand for a comment. Usually after the public hearing, I don't allow it, but I am going to allow it at this time. Could you give me your name and your address, please?
And this is Amy and Daryl.
Amy and Daryl?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Could you please give me your name and address, please?
My name is Amy Butts, B-U-T-T-S. I live at 25 CV Street.
Okay.
And I'm Daryl Berry, D-A-R-Y-L, B as in boy, E-R-R-Y, also 25 CD Street.
Okay. What is your comment about this this proposal?
Not a lot of comment. We're just waiting to see what happens.
Okay. Very, very good. Thank you for watching us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Any comments from the board? If not, I need a motion from a brave person.
We have Larry McWilliams.
Larry, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion that the site plan application for Revision Energy for the expansion of the existing solar farm with camper solar array located at 91 Spiller Drive, tax map 004, lot 303 zone, manufacturing district is approved with the conditions and the following findings of fact, conclusions, and conditions stated on pages 14 through 16 of our staff menu dated April 30th, 2020 are adopted in support of that approval, the planning board authorizes the planning board chair or vice chair to sign the final plan on behalf of the planning board.
Thank you, Larry. Motion made. I need a second.
Jason has raised his hand.
Jason, please.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Jason. Motion made and seconded. Is there any comments from a board member? I just have a comment, and I'm going to dovetail on Representative Larry. And I personally agree with him. It's a perfect use for that piece of property. And I'm glad that they chose to stay in Westbrook, double in size. And it's, I think, going to be a win-win-win for everyone. Thank you very, very much. Roll call, please, by Linda.
Larry McWilliams,
Yes.
Nancy Littrescape,
Yes.
John Turcotte is absent. Ed Reedman,
Yes.
thank
Nice
you.
to hear you, Ed.
Thank you. Robin Tannenbaum,
Yes.
Joseph Martin is absent. Jason Frazier,
Yes.
Rebecca Dillon,
Yes.
Rainey Daniel.
Yes. Let the record show that it was unanimous. Thank you.
We appreciate the time.
You're very, very welcome. Thank you, Aston. Becca, you're on.
Item 2020-05, Land Use Ordinance Amendment, Section 404 Sign Regulations. The proposed amendment reorganizes Section 404 Sign Regulations to provide clarity and remove inconsistencies and establishes standards for temporary non-commercial signage on public property and within the public rights-of-way. This item is a referral from City Council, and it is before the board as a public hearing this evening.
Thank you, Becca. Presentation by the staff, Jen and Dave.
The item before you tonight started as the referral from the City Council regarding temporary signage, specifically related to election signage that was created through state statutes, and we were trying to adopt those into our ordinance and also create an ordinance that was Westbrook in nature. As part of that rewrite, when we start looking at any portion of the ordinance, we really try to address any issues as we are finding them. Parts of the sign regulation were very disjointed. They were haphazard in where they were located throughout the ordinance. There was inconsistencies in how the ordinances would read from district to district. And what it ended up providing to our constituents and applicants as they are trying to go through our process was a lot of confusion. And occasionally when you have split areas of the ordinance, things can get missed during the course of a review, and applicants don't like to see that they thought they were going down a road and then they see ordinance language later on in the ordinance that is also connected to their application. So what we have provided to the board is an ordinance that we feel is a lot more succinct and logical in nature. We feel that this will provide the public with a better ordinance with which to submit sign requests to our code enforcement officer, as well as provide clarification in a number of areas. There was inconsistent language as it dealt with sign computation that we have clarified. We consolidated the non-conformance section into one distinct section for the entire ordinance language. We've clarified material components in the city center district so that They are all in one area and also much easier to navigate as you are providing an application to the code enforcement officer. So I am here tonight to answer any questions that the board may have, and our request is that this be recommended to the council for adoption.
Thank you. I open up the public hearing. Is there any comments?
Yep, I have a comment. It's
Yes.
Nancy. Yep. So in looking through all of this, I mean, it looks like you've done such a lot of heavy lifting to really clear up the ordinances, and I just wanted to.
Excuse me. Who's this?
Hello?
Nancy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We are
Can you
still,
hear me?
okay. We are still under public hearing.
Oh. Communication is choppy on my end. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I'm very choppy, so no problem.
Chair, we have no members of the public that have raised their hands.
Okay, I close this public hearing. Now, because I'm clairvoyant, I'm going to call on Nancy. Nancy?
Mary V. turned 50. 18 years ago.
Nancy, can you hear us?
Suppose I could have a popsicle and have time.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, now.
Okay. I'm not sure how much you did hear of that. So in brief, I'm just acknowledging how much work the staff put into reorganizing all of this language, and how much better that is for the businesses and people that come into the city and want to be able to access our ordinances easily to get a sign. In terms of the this being about the political signs, you know, what I read was temporary signs, and it made me think about artwork that would be signs. And I wonder if there's someplace else in our ordinance where that's addressed or could be addressed around actually having, sometimes having artwork. I'm thinking of the Hopeful sign, for example, that's in Portland. It's in Lewiston. And do we have something in our ordinances that talks about signs that are meant to attract people to our community and be enjoyable, but they're not really for a purpose of advertising or politics or something like that?
I can just ask Dave if he wants to chime in on this. To my knowledge, we don't have anything in the ordinance that speaks specifically to calling anything signage that doesn't have advertising in its nature. If it was art, I believe it would just be deemed art. But David, do you want to speak on that?
I know that we are allowed to put up like the holiday banners along the wayside on the light poles. I haven't had anybody else come forward with anything different than that. So I haven't really had to deal with that.
Nancy, to your point, I think if there was a situation that did occur, that is something that we could look at. I think we've had issues of murals that want to be created. In some areas, they have conducted the murals in a way in which that doesn't contain any sort of advertising of the business, so that those would not be technically considered signage. There are restraints within the city center district on how many colors you can have on your structure, so that does create a limitation on painting type art. But I think that if there was an instance of somebody wanting to do the hopeful sign, we could look at a situation like that and make the determination as to whether or not that our ordinance supports that, or whether that is something we wish to support in the future.
Thank you.
Anyone else? If there's no other comments, I would entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a comment too, Randy.
Oh, okay.
I just want to piggyback on the mural type of thing. Just curious on how that is designed, if it's art or if it's a sign pertaining to a certain business. If it's something that is asked by, I guess, approval ahead of time, as far as a mural goes, to beautify or bring better facade to the downtown, would that be something that this ordinance would still be entertained, or is that still a zero tolerance on say like the colors? Or if it's a sign that does come up, is it based on an individual basis, whether or not they can be allowed to put that up or not, as far as business?
We would ask for, typically in our process, we ask for a mock-up of what they're looking to propose. We have another applicant that's currently in this process as well. So we would look at the mock-up to determine whether or not that the components they're looking to put into the mural are in fact components that they are advertising, whether it's product, whether it is their name. Those are the things that we would look at to determine whether or not that the mural meets the test of a sign or whether it's just a mural. So we absolutely would work with property owners as they are trying to navigate that piece, if they are looking to try to beautify their building, to make sure that they don't run afoul of the sign ordinance.
So basically, the sign ordinance, if it's 10% of the square footage of the building is what you're allowed to use as a sign. Is that what the basic is? So if you took the square measurements of your building, and then if it's a mural or not, you still have to keep it at a certain percentage of the size of the building. Is that correct?
The components of the mural that would be designated as signage. So if a portion of the mural had somebody's logoing on it, if there was components of the mural that had elements that they're advertising, those would all have to be counted towards the allotment of signage.
Which is what, 10% of the building size? How is that calculated?
It varies depending upon the district. So it depends on the district in which that you're in, depends on how much signage you are allotted and on what sides. So
okay, yeah, I was more interested in just in the city center district.
If there was a specific application, I don't have the specific numbers in front of me right now to be able to answer that question, but I could follow back up with you, Larry, on that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
It's 5%, actually.
5%.
In city center district.
Thank you, David. Anyone else?
We do not seem to have any other hands raised.
Okay. I need someone to make a motion and second it.
We have a hand raised. Jason.
Jason, please.
Motion. Mr. Chair, motion proposed ordinance amendment for adoption by the City Council.
Okay. Seconded, please. Yes, Rebecca?
I will second the motion.
Motion was made and seconded to recommend to send to the city council. I need a roll call vote now, please. Linda?
Larry McWilliams,
Yes.
Nancy Littercapes,
Yes.
John Turcott is absent. Ed Reedman, Ed Reedman,
Yes.
thank you. Robin Tannenbaum,
Yes.
Joseph Martin is absent. Jason Frazier, Rebecca Dillon,
Yes.
and Rainey Daniel.
Yes. Let the record show that it passed. I would like to have a motion to enter workshop, please.
I'll make a motion to enter workshop, Mr. Chair.
Can I have a second, please?
I'll second it.
It's been moved by the vice chair and seconded by Larry. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. All those in favor? Oh, excuse me. Roll call vote.
Larry McWilliams,
Yes.
Nancy Littercapes,
Yes.
John Turcott is absent. Ed Reedman,
Yes.
Robin Tannenbaum,
Yes.
Joseph Martin is absent. Jason Frazier,
Yes.
Rebecca Dillon,
Yes.
Rainey Daniel.
Yes, let the record show that it was unanimous. Becca, please.
Item 2018-34, amended site plan, Rock Row, 58 and 80 Main Street, Waterstone Properties Group. Jones and Beach, on behalf of Waterstone Properties Group, is proposing an amendment to a previously approved site plan to reconfigure building layout and internal pedestrian and traffic circulation associated with Building 1B. The amendment is for Phase 1 of a 495,915 square foot regional retail shopping center, TAP map 042B, lots 9, 10, 11, and 14, zone contract zone 12, Rock Row contract zone.
Nancy?
Mr. Chair, I would ask to be recused from this. I've done project work related to this applicant.
Thank you. I need a motion to allow Nancy to recuse.
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Oh, good. We have two. Motion made by Ed, seconded by, who wants to be the one to take the accolades of seconded?
I'll let Larry.
Thank you, Larry. Roll call vote, please.
Larry McWilliams,
Yes.
John Turcott is absent. Nancy Littercapes is asking to be recused. Ed Reedman,
Yes.
Robin Tannenbaum,
Yes.
Joseph Martin is absent. Jason Frazier, Rebecca Dillon,
Yes.
Rainey Daniel.
Yes. Let the record show that it was approved. Presentation by the applicant, Wayne Morrow.
Good evening, members of the board. I believe that we have we're going to let Jim Kay start us off tonight. And then we're going to turn it over to Josh Levy before I get started. So, Jim, are you on and can present?
He is being promoted right now.
Okay, am I on the now?
Yep.
All right, thank you. Chair Daniel, members of the board, my name is Jim Katsifikas with the law firm of Perkins Thompson, representing Jericho Center developers and Waterstone Properties on this matter. As Becca said, we're here for a workshop on an application to amend the site plan approval that it granted for this project. It's for reorientation and reconfiguration of Building 1B, Lot 2, and Parcel 2. Taking a step back, this is a large-scale commercial development. With any large-scale commercial development, there are really two levels of considerations. The first is something we've been engaged with the city and DEP with for several years now, and that's obtaining the land use and environmental approvals necessary. So in 2016, this entire project was approved for site plan, subdivision. 2018, we came back and changed things a bit for phase 1 in order to go forward with what you see in this part of the development. So that's one important level, really the fundamental level of getting the approvals necessary to put this project on paper, have tenants. But the second part, the second level, is to find the tenants. When this was approved back in 2018, we had ideas about who might want to rent space here, but no leases were signed at that point and couldn't be. Those leases are in place now. Market Basket is the ground tenant for that large grocery store area, and Chick-fil-A is the tenant for the restaurant space. And so now we're hearing from the tenants as to what their needs are, understanding what they need to see in order to make the space work for them. And so, you know, at the first level, we've gotten the approvals that we needed from this board. We're trying to make sure that this overall design works under the ordinances, under the laws of the state of Maine. Now it's time to make the site work for the tenants. And that's where this request is coming from. That's what's driving this request to reconfigure the buildings, to make sure that this space works for the tenants on the site. So in doing that, we know there are staff concerns, and we know that there are certain standards that you have to apply. This implicates. One of them is with regard to internal vehicle circulation, another with pedestrian circulation, other modes of transportation, and then landscaping. But we believe that the plan that has been submitted meets those ordinance standards. And so you're going to hear from Josh Levy to talk about those tenant concerns that are driving this reconsideration, this request for amendment. And you're going to hear from Wayne Morrill to talk about how these plans, as he's drawn up, as he and Ian McKinnon have put together, meet the requirements of the ordinance in order to protect vehicle and pedestrian circulation and to allow that to go through safely. And then you're going to hear as well from David Floyd to talk about the landscaping plan and how this revised landscaping plan will shield and buffer this development as has been intended. That's the grand scheme here. We are trying to satisfy the regulatory component. We've been doing that for several years, but now we're trying to make sure that we have a marketable project, something that tenants want, and tenants will require some changes in order to make it marketable. So I'll turn this over, if I may, to Josh, and of course available for any questions the board might have. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Josh Levy with Waterstone Properties Group, Rock Road, Dirigo Center Developers LLC. Chairman Daniel, members of the board, thank you for doing this tonight. We appreciate your dedication and still moving this forward remotely. And if it's okay with you, Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to say thank you to and acknowledge Shaw Brothers and Sepulveda Construction, Jones and Beach, and SW Cole and Sebago, and city staff and officials and many others who have continued to plow forward tirelessly in these crazy times out there on site all day, every day. And we really appreciate that, including tonight. The number one single most requested tenant, bar none, and I probably get this 5 times a week, if not hundreds of times a month as a team, has been Chick-fil-A. And that's been for the last 3.5 years, nonstop. Can you please bring Chick-fil-A to Westbrook, to this project? And we're there with your help, that they are ready to move forward. And we think it's going to be an incredible location to really kick off the Rock Row project. Market Basket, as you know, we've continued to plow forward with them, and they're anticipating opening next month, depending on the COVID situation, and working together with us and with you. But look, I know in a perfect world, your desire as a city was to have the building parallel to the road and blocking more of the frontage. But if you can see all of the balding here, that is from the last 6 months of non-stop negotiation, and I'm not exaggerating, between Market Basket and Chick-fil-A and our other tenants on this orientation of the building. So we don't make this request lightly. There's a lot of reasons, both for Chick-fil-A with their canopy and their drive-through and their circulation and visibility corridors, to Market Basket, Paper Store, and then we're very close to being able to bring in an incredible retailer next to Market Basket in the 25,000 square feet. So all of these tie together, so that this really is a very weighted request where we can't change the orientation. We really want to do this. That being said, I hope you like what we're doing on the landscaping. We have far exceeded anything we've ever done in any project with an enhanced landscaping package, hardscape, lighting. My partners are ready to kill me with what we are spending to do that, but we think it's very important to set the tone for the project as you come into Rock Row for the much larger project with what's happening on the front door. And at the same time, as we've always said, we're at the front door to the city of Westbrook, and we take that very seriously as well. So we really do feel we're putting our best foot forward, creating the best flow and customer guest experience, and really working hard to meet the needs of serving many different masters here with Chick-fil-A, Market Basket, and another retailer. So we really appreciate your consideration for this. Thank you.
So Jenny and members of the board, I think I'm going to go next, and I was wondering if it's okay if I just share my screen because it is zoomed in a little bit more into the site plan. So this is the same plan that David has up on his screen, but I just zoomed into our site plan of what we're talking about tonight is building 1B, which is the Chick-fil-A. And Chick-fil-A, unlike a lot of other drive-through restaurants that we've all seen, we've all been to and everything, Chick-fil-A has a whole different type of operating than that we've probably never seen around this area. But some of the things that are different than other drive-through operations is what they do is they have a double drive-through going up to the canopy, and then what they do is go into a single drive-through and then open it back up to another. The drive-through lane keeps on going, but then they have a pull-off area. And one of the things that allows the Chick-fil-A staff to do is you'll see them a lot come out of the building and actually in this drive-through lane, that's what this striped area is, and they're outside taking orders from people in their cars to try to make this operations of the drive-through move efficiently as possible. Then it goes down into a single lane that helps them get the orders pulled together. And then if you get to this point, your order isn't ready, you actually go into this waiting lane. The reason why that this is all condensed into this one lot is because they like to control their entire operation. If something happened in their drive-through area that they needed to shut down the drive-through, being able to stop it here but still allow customers to still access the spots allows them to control everything that happens, and that's really important to them. They like to have one-way traffic circulation, so we work with staff to eliminate some parking spots in here, but then also given approximately 39 or 40 spots right in the front door. One of the big things that we work with staff was to make sure that Chick-fil-A had its own sidewalk. So from the Main Street sidewalk that you're seeing built out there right now, they have a dedicated sidewalk that runs along this edge of the parking lot, brings you down along, and then a handicap accessible walkway that brings you into the front door. This walkway is more used by the people that are working for Chick-fil-A, but we've looked at making sure that even if there was overflow and somebody didn't want to go into this area, there's many ways to get onto this sidewalk from these parking spaces that are surrounding this to get into that sidewalk and into the front door. So it's really a specific user that has a certain operation that they're trying to do. We did, on the original concept that we got in front of the board and we got approved, we did have a dedicated drive-through lane that was separate from the operations. What they like to do is have everything controlled in one site in a counterclockwise flow through the site. And that's why we have the site laid out the way it is. We've gone through a number of different ways of laying this out. We've rotated the building 3 or 4 times to make sure that we had this set up right. And like Josh said, it's a tenant-driven direction to have the canopy up front. And that way the visibility from the road to the market basket is not impacted by the drive-through canopy, but it also allows them to control their operation, which is very important. So that's pretty much, we've worked on circulation for the parking spaces, the pedestrian circulation. And now I'd like to turn it over to David Floyd to talk about how we actually are shielding this and the landscape package that goes along with making sure this is beautiful. David, can you take over? David, are you there? Okay. Sorry, members of the board. I'm not quite sure where David is. So,
hang on 1 second. There was 2 participants with the same designation. Let's see if this one works.
there he is.
Looking for him.
Where'd you go, David?
David, we can see you. We don't see you talking though.
Orange.
Jenny, it looked like you had him up on the screen, but I don't know, he wasn't able to talk, so.
Yes, he's having difficulties evidently connecting.
So I'm gonna try to walk through David's to do the best I can, but as soon as David is able to talk, I'm gonna let him take over so that we can keep this going and don't take up a lot more of the board's time tonight. So in your package, we actually have included this plan for the board so you can see that the different views of what David has come up with on Main Street, looking at the Chick-fil-A, is detailed. What we have is a bus stop, and then we have the different views. So view A, view B, C is from heading in the westerly direction at the intersection, and then view D looking straight at the building from Main Street. So you can see that we've continued the same landscaping that we had before. We haven't changed any of the outskirts of the development along the main drive or along this parking lot. So as we go along.
Wayne, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but if you're intending to be sharing your screen right now, you're not, so the board can't see the views you're describing.
I'm sorry. Am I there?
There you go.
All right. Sorry about that, board. So this is the landscape plan that was put together by David Floyd. It's showing basically the entire front parking lot of the Market Basket with buildings 1A, 1B, and 1C all put on this one plan. As we look along the Main Street, you can see the bus stop that's being constructed right now. We have the 10-foot wide sidewalks along the bus stop, and we're forming this entire sidewalk. The landscape is remaining the same along this whole entire front. And it remains the same on Rock Row and in through the parking lot. But we've tried to enhance the area around 1B to be able to make sure that the board sees how much that we're adding in the front door of this building 1B. So as I go through the slides, you'll see there's view A, view B. So view A is looking from the side of the bus stop, looking at the Chick-fil-A and at the dumpster area. View B is looking at the dumpster area again. And then view C, we go onto the other side of the intersection on Main Street, looking at the building. And then view D is right on Main Street, opposite the building, so you can see the view from that direction. So when we go, this is just a little bit more going up for the board. So this is view A. So what you can see here is an area, this is the bus stop, and then you're seeing the Chick-fil-A in the distance. So these are the street trees that the board's approved on the landscape plans that we have along Main Street. This is a lot of the low-growing shrubs that the board has approved. This is the sidewalk going into the access that goes up to the Market Basket. And then you can see some of the seating areas that was part of the offsite mitigation plan. What we did is we added some landscaping in the area so that the dumpster area is not screened, and then we added some more along this front here. So as you're driving along, you won't be able to see that dumpster area. It was important to us knowing David picked these views and these spaces based on the speed of the road and how a person would actually turn their head as they actually are driving. So this location is looking at a 30-mile-an-hour zone, typically turning your head about 30 degrees. You're not able to see the dumpster, but you're able to see that this is Chick-fil-A, and you're seeing some of the cars along the front here. Then as we move along, now you're getting a little bit closer. Now you're having to turn your head quite a bit. And what you don't see here is the dumpster is over in here somewhere. So we've enhanced this landscape along Main Street so that that whole view is blocked. In this view, you can actually see a hair of the canopy for the drive-through area, but it's really not visible with all the landscaping that we've actually put along Main Street to make sure that this is all hidden as you're coming up, as you're heading east on the road. If we jump now to the opposite side of the road, so this is us sitting at the Main Street intersection, at the signalized intersection. We're looking to turn left into Rock Row. You can see that landscaping that we just looked at along Main Street. David, what he's done is he's enhanced this front, added some color, some planting. You can see the Chick-fil-A building. These are all real windows along the building. There are no fake windows on this building. You can see the canopy and then the landscaping that's going along that still has the same landscaping as we go along Rock Row as what the board has already seen. And then as we go, this is the last view. So now we're in Main Street looking directly at the back of the building. And you can see this is the access door that comes out. The dumpster here is shielded. David's added plantings around the dumpster so you're not actually seeing that dumpster from this view. He's added some landscape along that entry door so you don't see that. And there's a window right here that you can't see because it's behind the tree, but the Chick-fil-A sign, and then this is the canopy that sits out here. So what David has tried to do is pick year-round green landscaping so that we shield year-round to not only the dumpster area, but the back of the building, helping break up some of the building facade with this landscape. We've actually added a two-tone on the building, so it doesn't give that one solid color on the entire view. So then coming back here, this is a Chick-fil-A building. These are all real windows, all doors. This is the side that faces the parking lot. This is the side that faces out towards the Market Basket parking lot. The front of the building that actually is facing towards Market Basket, and then the side of the building that faces out to Main Street. We also added the dumpster enclosure, so we're not just talking about a fence with a gate in the front of it. It's a concrete block enclosure. The architecture of the dumpster is very similar to the building, and then the gates themselves are very similar to the architecture of the building that we're going forward with. And then what we've done is just blown up the architectural plan so the board can see that this building, these are all real windows, the drive-through window, the pickup. So I've tried to go through those with the board. I guess we can try to answer any questions the board might have. We continue to work with staff to make sure that this layout works. This slip lane has always been in the plans. We did not, as even working with the board way back when we first introduced the slip lane, we didn't want to introduce pedestrians crossing the slip lane close to Main Street. We always thought it'd be better to have them coming in where this is a stop control to allow a safe pedestrian movement to get into the site. But keep in mind, we do have a lot of different ways for pedestrians to come off Main Street. We have this sidewalk that has a boulevard that comes down. It crosses here, goes down into the loop. We're also, Josh, working hard with the master planning team to create this walkway system that goes down around the roundabout and continues along the lake. That was for the ex-chairman. And then we're actually working on our sidewalk area along here on Main Street that we would be bringing back in front of staff to talk about how to create sidewalks that then would continue hopefully around the quarry or lake in the near future so that we can have a continuous loop around that area, which is really important to us, our trail guys. I know Josh talked to the board many times about how many people are on this team. It's a little small army if you think about all the guys and the designers and geotech guys. We're all pulling together to try to have these things happen. This Chick-fil-A is one of our centerpieces as you come in, and we made sure that we have good pedestrian access and we have a lot of parking around that so that people can enjoy that restaurant for years to come. So I'll try to answer any questions the board might have. We might have to get David Floyd involved in the future if there's specific questions on the landscape.
Wayne, this is David. I was able to call in.
Okay. How'd I do, David?
Sorry about that, guys.
That's okay.
David, do you want to give a 20-second overview on the landscaping real quick and the enhanced program?
Can I get control of the screen?
So I just gave up my sharing, David.
Can my screen be seen now?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, good. Well, Wayne, I saw you going through the slides really quick, but I'm David Floyd with Site Solutions. We are the landscape architects, and I wanted to discuss one of the issues that the board has some issues with, and that is the Chick-fil-A orientation and the trash enclosure and its proximity to the Main Street. We took a views here, and these views are specifically at specific points based on the SAE J985, but it has to do with your view cones, what you see at what speed and what your angle of view is. So View A at 18 degrees, that's comfortable. A driver can comfortably look at within 30 degrees with just his eyes and not having to move his head. So view B is at 36 degrees. View D is really just as though you were standing in the median looking directly at Chick-fil-A. And of course, the final view, view C, is looking from the stop bar westbound on Main Street. Okay, this is an enlargement of that area. So, okay, how do we accomplish this, the screening of this dumpster, but also maintain some of the other things we're concerned about? Of course, we had to design this to meet the crime prevention through environmental design guidebook. That was a comment we got early on. But also we had to maintain visibility to our tenants. So what we did is we took a look at these different view cones, and we strategically located evergreen plant material, larger evergreen plant material between the trees and in certain islands and around the dumpster so that we could screen the dumpster from view. The first view A is taken from 300 feet away, more than a football field, but you had the most landscaping to look to see the trash enclosure. View B, 37 degrees, is an uncomfortable turn. You'd actually have to turn your head to look in this direction, which would probably not be something maybe a passenger might do, but obviously the driver wouldn't do. I'm going to go to the first section. This is the long view, 332 feet. You can see we've added evergreens running between the trees here. These are, they're salt tolerant, they're evergreens and native species, I might add, and they can easily screen the view to the trash enclosure, which is 8 feet 8 inches tall above finished grade. This is the closer view. This is the 37-degree view. Again, we can add we've added evergreens in here to screen the view of the dumpster. This is the view. Excuse me. Let me give a headed westbound. We had our entry landscaping, our evergreen trees. The Chick-fil-A here. This is the drive-through. But this is heavily landscaped area because this is the front door to Rock Road, to our development. The trees are 4-inch caliper. At installation, they're 30 feet on center, and they're underplanted with a combination of different evergreens that are both tolerant of salt, and we have some flowering shrubs and evergreen shrubs and native species. Finally, this is the view as though you were standing directly across the street. This gives you an idea of the aesthetics of Chick-fil-A, the drive-through, the landscaping, and the screening of the trash enclosure, while still maintaining some degree of visibility to Market Basket and not putting so much landscaping that we create a problem with security in the parking area. I think Wayne showed this. This is an elevation of Chick-fil-A, and this is a photograph of a similar trash enclosure. It's 8 feet 8 inches tall to the top of the parapet. These are metal doors with wooden finishing, and then there's a storage compartment on one end that I think has a roof. So that was the 30-second tour, and does anyone have any questions?
I'm sure we will in a few minutes.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
It wasn't a question, it was a statement. I said you probably will be having questions as soon as the presentation is done.
Okay, thank you.
Does that conclude the presentation?
It does.
That is the end of our presentation.
Oh, it does. I'm sorry. Wayne, let me hand this back to you.
We can give it back to staff at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Staff comment.
I would concur with Josh, and that this is probably the most requested question that I get on a daily basis as to what restaurant is coming into Rock Row. This was part of the original approval as a restaurant pad, but had not been named at the time. It had originally been laid out so that it was parallel to Main Street and was the intent of what our ordinance for the Gateway Commercial had requested, which was trying to keep the structure line of Main Street to the best extent that we could. The canopy system that has now been incorporated, as well as the reorientation of the project, was not an included element to the previous plan, and the dumpsters were not located out on Main Street. So those were initially the concerns that staff have raised back to the applicant, that the plan has changed significantly in the vicinity of the restaurant pad. We would like to continue discussions with the applicant as it pertains to site circulation. We feel that the conflict of the drive-through and the main access ways through the site of the Chick-fil-A, we are concerned about the conflict components of those, as well as some of the parking spaces in the vicinity, that there are innate issues with the flow of traffic. We have provided those comments to the applicant along with a potential layout. Again, we're not trying to dictate the actual location of it, but just more so just to look at putting the canopy more to the rear of the building, as well as the dumpster pad. So those were the comments that staff have provided, and at this point we leave it to the board to provide their comments.
Thank you. I'm going to open the floor to the public comment first. Is there anyone in the public that would like to raise their hand in Zoom, or *9 for call-ins attendees?
Chair, we do not have any attendees that have raised their hands.
Okay. Is there any Q&A, Becca?
No, there are no comments.
Okay. I'm going to close the public comments. Board comments and discussion. Anyone on the board has a comment?
Mr. Chair?
We have two hands. Robin has raised her hand.
Robin?
Yes.
The
Can you
floor
hear
is
me?
yours.
Okay, thanks. It's nice to see you all again, so to speak. And, oh, hello, I'm very big now. Jenny, thank you for explaining what the original plan was, because I didn't remember and I couldn't figure out what it was, so I appreciate that. I guess in general, I appreciate all the thought that you guys are putting into this, and I see a ton of thought, and I understand what you're going through. I do just want to sort of second the concerns. It's a lot of comments in the memo that staff has put forward, and I certainly, while I understand that you may not be able to flip the building as proposed, the idea of moving the dumpster to the rear certainly holds a lot of appeal to me. I have a question, two questions, and I'll just sort of state them and then mute myself and listen to the answers. One, well, 2.5, maybe 3. One is, and I can't believe I'm going to ask this, but I wanted to understand with the heavy, heavy landscaping, which is incredible and beautiful, if we have a good plan for snow piling up and snow removal, and also just if if Jenny, if we're doing any like peer review of the planting, I think this is incredible. I don't want to doubt what's being shown to us because it's the most robust thing we've ever seen, and I hope it sets the bar for future work in Westbrook. But I see all this and I think we're in Maine, and like I just saw buds on the leaves for the first time a few days ago, and they won't leaf out for another month. So I want to make sure that everything we're seeing here is appropriate to our climate and going to work for our short growing season. I heard the word evergreen a lot. That's great. But I know I talk to my parents in South Carolina regularly, and they're sitting under like full, they're like in a botanical garden, just in their backyard. We have a very different condition here. So that's a concern. So wanted to understand the snow, the appropriateness of the plants. And then I'm just curious in something like this, with a high profile desired tenant, how long is the lease typically with a tenant like this? Those are my questions. Thank you.
Sure. Mr. Chairman, this is Josh Levy, am I able to answer those?
Yes, you are.
Great, thank you. The lease is anywhere from 15 to 20 years of base term plus additional options. So this is I think in this case, I have to check, it's either 15 or 20 with several 5-year options. It represents a very significant long-term commitment by Chick-fil-A, which is a very well-run, long-term minded organization that puts a lot of care and a lot of investment into the building. As you can see, compared to other restaurants, this is all brick on the exterior and really a wonderful presentation. We have a great operations plan for snow. Fortunately, we have another 80 acres behind us that we can play with as it phases. I think the larger concern is going to be as the rest of the site builds out, making sure our operations plan keeps up with that for snow. On full build out, we'll have much more of a concern for snow storage, but we do not have any concern about phase 1 with that. And if it's okay with the chairman, I'll turn it to David Floyd on the appropriateness of the landscaping.
Thank you.
Yes, great question. I just wanted to let you guys know that we vetted this plan with some local landscapers, also local nurseryman, Pearson's Nursery, and I made a trip up to Booth Bay to speak to the horticulturalist there to go over our plant list, make sure that everything was appropriate, make sure that it was tough, make sure it could handle, the conditions you have up there. And it is our desire to raise the bar for landscaping, in this area and for this project. Again, it's our front door to a fabulous experiential mixed-use center that we're building in Rock Row, and so this is our only chance to make it right. And so we've done our due diligence, and we feel very comfortable that everything we've done have selected and specified is going to be appropriate, and everyone in Westbrook is going to be very proud of this project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Someone else from the board?
Rebecca Dillon has raised her hand.
Rebecca, please.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for the images. Those were extremely helpful. I've always struggled with the previous orientation of the buildings, with the whole front-back relationship, because when the building was turned the way you originally had it, the back of the building was on Main Street. And that's always a tough thing to handle architecturally, make it look good. Even if you add fake windows, it still just doesn't feel like the front of a building. So I personally don't have an issue from a building perspective with having it turned. I actually think it kind of opens it up to Main Street a little bit better. And if it does have to be 90 degrees as you're currently proposing now, I think it's nice that the back of it is to Market Basket rather than having the back of it be facing the main entrance as you enter into Rock Row. So I personally don't have an issue with it. The dumpsters, that's tough. Those are tough being in that location. So I don't know if maybe the dumpsters, if there's another location that would work a little bit better. But I did have a question on the evergreens that you're showing along Main Street to try and buffer the dumpster. At what size will they be when they're planted? What size are they in the views that you're showing us, and how long will it take them to get to that taller, fuller size that you're showing in the renderings?
Rebecca, this is David Floyd. Excellent question. What we're proposing is a mix of evergreens. There's two types of arborvitae, thuya. There's a type of juniper and one pine, which is native, rigida. And those are all going to be installed at between 7 and 10 feet at installation. Now the pines are smaller, but there are only 3 of those. Those will go in at 4 feet, but the other evergreens are going to be between 7 and 10 feet. The Holstrom, Thuya occidentalis Holstrom, will go in at 7, and they ultimately will be about 10 feet. It's the maintain height. Again, the height of the parapet of the height of the wall of the trash enclosure is only 8 feet 8 inches, and we're going in with plant material that will be at least 7 feet day one. The other thuyas, the emerald thuyas, are going to be 10 feet, so they would actually be taller than the trash enclosure. And as I mentioned, the junipers also, those are going to go in at 7 feet tall. Those are very fast growing, up to 10 to 15 feet. And again, all of them are salt tolerant, and most are natives. The junipers are not; they are non-native, but the thuyas are. The pine obviously is a native, salt-tolerant native. And then the street trees and the other plantings along the street. The street trees at 4-inch caliper will be 24 to 26 feet tall at installation, with the other shrubs being in the neighborhood of 24 to 36 inches at installation.
Great, thank you.
My pleasure.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Rebecca. Another board member?
Larry.
Larry, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also want to echo some of the plantings that I've seen going in at Market Basket, driving up. They are very nice looking trees, even though they're bare now, but they are at a good size. And I'm not opposed to this. I had some more issues with people getting in and getting around, but the more that I look at it and the more that I heard you guys describe it, it does make it, especially coming in from the Portland area, seeing the Chick-fil-A and at the beginning with that landscape plan that you guys have, it definitely it shows good faith that you guys are definitely going to put in a top-notch area for all of Westbrook to enjoy, and I want to thank you again for that.
Thank you, Larry. Anyone else on the board?
There are no more hands.
Okay, I have a comment. I had concerns when I initially looked at the placement of the building, and then I lost concern. However, I still maintain the concern about the trash. And I've been on the board a long, long time. I've never seen a trash area that has stayed pristine for any length of time. I do have a problem that the holding area is on the Main Street side. And I also concur with everything that has been said before me. And if there's any other possible way to move that as close as it is to the sidewalk and to Main Street, I would appreciate you looking at it one more time. I know based on what you've showed me tonight and what I have seen in my packet, and Robin is correct. You have put an awful lot of time, effort, and consideration. And if this is going to be the bar, if you're raising the bar to this, it's going to make my job very, very hard to find a problem with landscaping. I truly don't find a problem with your landscaping. I think I've died and gone to heaven. So I thank you for that. The one thing I would ask is for you to take one more step and look at it as if it was another one's project. Would you be satisfied to have the trash area there? And I trust Jen implicitly, and I think we can make this work. I really, really do. I want it to work. Anyone else with comments?
There are no more hands, Chair.
If there's nothing else, I would like to go right into a motion to adjourn.
So
I need a-
moved, Mr. Chair.
Who's that? Robin?
Rebecca.
Nancy?
Rebecca.
Rebecca.
It was Rebecca.
Rebecca, move to adjourn. I need a second.
I'll second. It's Nancy.
Thank you, Nancy. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote, please.
Larry McWilliams,
Yes.
Nancy Littler Capes,
Yes.
John Turcott is absent. Ed Friedman, Robin Tannenbaum,
Yes.
Joseph Martin is absent, sorry. Jason Frazier,
Yes.
Rebecca Dillon,
Yes.
Rainey Daniel.
Yes, let the record show that it was passed. One comment, I want to thank all of the presenters this evening. This is a difficult way of doing it, but we are moving forward. I want to especially thank each member of the planning board. You are outstanding, totally outstanding. And our staff, we've got the best staff in the, not Maine, in the country. Thank you all very, very much. And this meeting is officially adjourned.